Good evening. Welcome back to the channel. Episode 4, World Cup Waffle. Now, we've lasted longer now than 2 Katie Price weddings, so we're really chuffed with this. We're here again, the More Music Radio studios. Looking forward to this. Thanks again, as usual, to Mr. Matt Page and More Music Radio for allowing us to do this. We're really, really grateful. So, it's quarterfinals week. Yeah, we've got that far. It's quarterfinals week. And last night we had a night with no football. What's that all about? I mean, really, what was that all about? There was men wandering around the streets like depressed, going, when's the game on? But it is quarterfinals week, and England are in it. Now, I've got to be honest, we've had mixed chats about England this week, all this series of podcasts, but the Mexico game, for me, was one of their best ever performances. Not going to slag any players off, not going to take the mick. They were all to a man magnificent. Be interested to see what my guest thinks as we move on. We obviously have had the controversy of the USA-Belgium game. More on that later for the run. We now, though, understand that FIFA stands for Fix It for America. Argentina, with their controversial VAR comeback, I felt so sorry for Egypt and Mo Salah, I'll be honest, and I've never felt sorry for a Liverpool player in my life. But I did this week. Gianni Bottafanta, his position's now officially under threat. He's being looked at for FIFA's behaviour in this tournament, whether it will come to fruition or not. Who knows? And Thierry Henry went into battle again. This will come in the rant. Went into battle with alleged American experts. And fair play to Thierry, he stood up for Europe. Officials are under the microscope. Again, we'll talk about that more with our guest. And Jordan Henderson. If ever you wanted a moment of high comedy this week, the end of the England-Mexico game gave it to you. Jordan Henderson has made the England squad, but he can't jump over a barrier without breaking his arm. Go figure. To be honest, I think he should play in the quarterfinals because he'll be more used than he was before the Mexico game. Anyway, it brings me on to introduce my guest because I really do want to get him on. We shamelessly come from Cambridgeshire, from the broadcasting at the people region. And if you've been here any time over the last 10 years, this gentleman and his voice is synonymous with the region because he worked for BBC Radio Cambridgeshire for many years and he had the breakfast show. And he had a unique breakfast show because it made the people want to listen to local BBC radio. It was entertaining. It was funny. His personality shone through. And then, unfortunately, he left it for better things, I hope, for him, because of the state of BBC local radio. A lot of people don't know he worked for 5 Live. He was been on BBC television as sports reporter. He has a myriad on his CV that I can't go through it all. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to this little World Cup waffle, the one and only Mr. Paul Stainton. Good evening.
Hello, how are you? You all right? You're making me sound really old.
I'm going Harry Kane here, but we're talking about you. But you've had a storied career working for the BBC, haven't you?
I have. It all started in nightclubs in Peterborough in 1989 when I came to Peterborough. I'm not a born and bred Peterborough, but I've stayed in and around Peterborough, worked in and around Peterborough since 1989. Local radio, Hereward Radio, BBC, Cambridgeshire, 5 Live, and then the BBC gave me a slot as a sports correspondent, which sent me all around the world covering Champions League games, the championships, cricket, Olympics, you name it. I've sort of covered it, really.
Yeah, I know. I was looking into this, and it's like, how the hell do I introduce? I genuinely had a dilemma in introducing you because there's so much on that CV, and yet now you are. Now let me get this right as well, because I've written it down. You're now working for the Cathedral, Peter Cathedral again, Peterman, true and true, as the Director of Marketing and Comms. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I came back, obviously, to Cambridge, Radio Cambridgeshire, did the breakfast show, did a big morning show. Fantastic time, loved it, loved entertaining people, hated getting up, but loved entertaining people and loved the interaction we got. And as you said, BBC have mucked up local radio, in my opinion, and they were mucking it up. And I left and started my own company, and then COVID hit. So like many people, lost a lot of contacts, lost a lot of business, and looked for another opportunity. And that opportunity was in a place that I've always championed on the radio, always loved. I'm not religious in any way, shape or form, but I love that building. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing my bit to try and keep it open.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the shows, shall we say, I don't want to insult you by any stretch, but some of the shows, festivals, whatever, that you put on at the Cathedral already, It's very impressive.
Well, we've changed the way the cathedral talks to the city. I think we've collaborated right across the city, and we've just put more and more events on. And without the cathedral now, the city centre would be a ghost town. 160,000 people were expecting to get through our events in the city centre, which is a lifeblood for a lot of businesses, and they're realising that. And we've got a Travel It's Lego exhibition which starts a week on Saturday, and all the businesses in the city centre want to be part of it because it's successful. So it's great.
Well, I'm going to blow a bit of smoke here, Paul, because also I think the addition of you as a named value also gleans interest in that in those events or whatever you put on.
I mean, I'm not there for me. For a long time, I say it's about me. I was the head of the snake, if you like, on the BBC on the show. It was always about the team. Because without a team, there is no radio show. You have to rely on your producers. You have to rely on what they say, what they write. You have to rely on you train them well enough to be able to trust them. And it's the same at the cathedral. It's huge teamwork. What I bring is really all my contacts across the city, now really about the city and the people that live within it, what they might like and what they wouldn't like. For the last sort of year or so, just making sure we're not charging too much for things, so that people can afford it and afford to see it. So the Lego thing's a case in point. That's going to be amazing. I mean, it's probably the biggest family-friendly, fun thing we've ever done at the cathedral. People are going to be able to go for hours for a tenner. It's going to be amazing.
There you go. We got that in early. I was going to do that. We got that in early.
Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard.
No, not at all. Because, I mean, let's face it, although we will go on to talk about football in a minute, the city needs somebody like you. The gentleman who runs this radio station, who's just walked in, is a big advocate of that, and he's now started to move out of our town, shall we say, and into the city, and he's been asked to conduct more events like yourselves. That's absolutely fantastic. Right,
well,
let's talk football.
Yeah,
because I know you're a big football fan.
I am.
Now,
yeah.
am I correct in saying you have a certain passion for a team in red?
I'm a Nottingham Forest fan for my sins. Before I came to Peterborough, I was DJing in Nottingham for about 4 years, and I went to see the legendary Brian Clough teams. I stood in the Trent end, fell over, jumped up, fell down. Lee Chapman, Teddy Sheringham, Brian Clough, Stuart Pearce, Nigel Clough, Stevie Odd. Great players and a great team. Stan Collymore, really, really exciting teams. And I just thought, this is my team. I love this. And yet I'm from Yorkshire, so always when you're from Yorkshire, your first team is Leeds.
A gold boy, am I right?
Yeah. So when you're born in Yorkshire, your first team is Leeds. It's got to be Leeds.
Is that a rule, is it?
It is a rule, and then you extricate yourself slowly, and you start to make your own mind up.
We will come on to Forest in a little bit. I'll touch on that because I've got a soft spot for Forest, I'll be honest. But I am a Peter fan. I was bred and born in the city, and that's how it works for me.
Yeah.
So, but the World Cup, which is why we're here. Can you give me a little overview of your thoughts of what you've witnessed, good and bad?
I think there's been some great games. I think there's been some great goals that have sadly been disallowed for trivial reasons. There's some great goals scored that have stood. I think it was always going to be difficult having a World Cup in America, and I think the fans have been ripped off with prices from day one. I think Trump's influence, everything he touches, he tanks. He's a disgusting man, in my opinion, and I think he's tainted this World Cup. His influence over, getting the red card reinstated. By the way, the rumor is he thought that America would have to play with 10 men. He's that stupid. He didn't realise. He didn't realise.
I considered that, but yeah, you might have a point there.
He didn't realise you could play somebody else. So that's why he was so desperate. But I mean, and FIFA, they've been tainted for 40 years.
Yeah,
the whole organisation is a disgrace, really, and so many of them should have been arrested so many times. And it is a disgrace. It's our world game. It's our national game. It's the game we all love. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Because it's not adding to the game. And if the referees are not good enough to make the decisions and stick by them, get rid of the referees and get some that you can. And make them all ex-footballers so they understand the game. Not school teachers and, some of the refereeing's been shocking. The VAR's been worse. The VAR's been interfering when it shouldn't have been interfering. So all in all, it's a good World Cup. It's exciting. There's some great games, but there's always that aftertaste with it. Do you know what I mean? No, I just think there's too many things.
I will.
There's too many things that don't sit well on the tongue for me.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
you know, I really, really didn't like the Egypt-Argentina game. I thought that was grossly, grossly unfair. Particularly if you're going to disallow one goal for a small foul, why didn't you look at the other goal when Salah was fouled in the area? Neither, for me, were fouls. You know, they were the sort of fouls that were let go earlier in the tournament. So if you're going to just be consistent, it's the same with VAR. Just be consistent. Everybody be happy then, or turn it off.
Brilliant. Now, just on that note, which you may or may not have seen just before we started recording, it's been announced that Young Kwan has got 2-game ban. Now, where's the consistency there?
Well, it's shocking.
It just to back up your point.
Yeah. I mean, it should have been overturned, shouldn't it? If his tackle was no worse than what the American forward did.
No, absolutely.
He was unlucky, I think, to get sent off. I think it was a yellow card in the Premier League.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Now, what has baffled me, and with you saying that, what has really, really baffled me is the so-called on Fox, CBS, on some of the American sports channels, is they didn't even think the American lad, it was a yellow card, let alone a red. I thought he nearly broke his ankle.
Well, he was unlucky. I mean, there was no intent in my view. I don't think he intended to, you know, and that's the way I judge things like that. And whether it's right or wrong in the rule book, I think, you know, it should be about intent. If he'd gone out to hurt the lad, but he didn't, they both went for a ball and he accidentally, you know, put his foot on his ankle. And it could have seriously hurt the guy. But for me, it was accidental. So it's a yellow and not a red. But I mean, what do Fox News know about anything? Jesus.
Yeah, no.
Soccer. You know, sod off soccer.
I'm with you. The beauty of it is as well, have you seen the footage of Thierry Henry defending righteousness, shall we say?
Yeah, I have. And I have a lot of love for Thierry. I mean, what a player he was. And, you know, he's not afraid to say what he thinks. And that's a good thing. But I feel like it just goes over. There's a certain part of America that's just brain dead.
No.
And it just goes over their heads. You know, they think black is white, white is black, and you can't argue with these people.
What do you end of the hydration breaks, Paul?
I think if it's over 100 degrees, fair enough. If it's not, no. I just think it's ridiculous. You know, there was a game in Boston where it was like 15 degrees and it was hammering it down, and they had hydration breaks. I mean, they were getting wet through. They could have just gone like that. Got hydration that way.
A France group game where they got taken off due to a torrential downpour, came back out within 10 minutes. They'd had hydration. Right.
Yeah, it's just
that tickled us here.
I mean, to be fair, I think England have benefited from hydration breaks. That's the one thing I do think.
Yeah.
I think every time we've had a hydration break, particularly when we've been playing terribly, which we have been up until the Mexico game, I think we had one good half, but we've benefited. Tuchel's got into them and galvanised them. Yeah. And I think he's a very good manager, but I think he made some very curious selection decisions. I mean, Henderson. I mean, he'll never play snooker again the same, will he? No, was it his snooker hand?
Please don't make a gesture like that to me.
But snooker, innit? Yeah.
But just, yeah. We're going on YouTube, you know.
It's called, in radio terms, it's called pushing, that's called pushing the envelope in radio terms.
Yeah, and that ranks alongside the lady losing her phone in the Holland game. That was just highly comical because you saw him. He went over in informants as well, which was even funny. I'm glad you mentioned Thomas Tuchel because I have to say I said it in the war. That England performance with Mexico, one of the bravest and of the wholehearted. It reminded me of Italy drawing in Italy in Rome to qualify, to get that 0-0 to qualify, where Terry Butcher ended up with,
the bandage.
Unfortunately, you're probably not dissimilar to me of an age that you can remember.
Yeah, and I've seen some great performances. I mean, I was at Euro 96. I watched every England game. I mean, and that was one of the highlights of my life, actually. Me and the gentleman who's my best friend that I went with, we bought the tickets, I think, for 167 quid, all the tickets. Now, I remember the Scotland game. I remember Gaza flipping the ball over Colin Hendry, sitting Colin Hendry down, smacking it in, doing the drink. But the best night was when we beat Holland 4-1. I mean, and we were surrounded by Dutch fans that night in Wembley, the old Wembley. And it was just fantastic to see an England team playing like a Dutch team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought it was reminiscent of that against Mexico. It's a bit more gritty. And we don't have a Gaza, really. We've got a Bellingham, but he's not quite Gaza, is he? but it was a whole team performance. And that's despite another fairly dodgy decision from the referee, because I didn't think it was a penalty.
Yeah, no. The Cameron one came. No, agreed. Again, more credit. Yeah, I must admit the selection right from the off. We took the initial squad, and I'm fair. I consider myself genuinely fair-minded, but I was like, oh, hang on, these gone a bit. I mean, if you could swap or taken one more player out, there was a notable list of players who didn't make it. Who would you take?
Well, I'm not being biased here, but I would have taken Morgan Gibbs White in place of Henderson.
Well, fair enough.
Because I think he had a great season, finished well, he was in form. I mean, for me, I understand what Tuchel was trying to do. He was trying to do an Alf Ramsey. He was trying to pick a team. He was trying to have a team. Not all the best players in England. There was no room for Foden. He wasn't playing well anyway. Palmer wasn't playing that well. They're good players. But if you picked all them, they wouldn't have gone in the team anyway. So, but I think he should have had backup in midfield. He had Morgan Gibbs White. And he certainly should have picked another right back.
That's. I mean, that has come back to haunt him a little bit.
But you've got Jed Spence playing, who finished the season in a team, finished 17th with a terrible defence. What? I don't understand. For me, it was two players two positions he could have made a difference. But no, I think I pretty much agree with most of his selections. Although the first couple of games, I would have stuck Tony up front with
Would you?
Yeah, because I think there was a when we're playing against that low block and it was really boring. It was so obvious to me that we just needed to get the wingers round and get the crosses in. And if you'd have had Tony up there with Kane and just pinging the crosses in, Tony's so good with his head and he's banging them in for fun in Saudi.
Well,
Kane's so good.
He should be really, Paul, shouldn't he?
He should. I mean, I'm amazed the Premier League team's not come in for Tony.
That I'd agree with.
I mean, if I was Spurs, I'd be spending 60, 70 million pounds on Tony or somebody of his ilk, because they need a striker.
Well, at the moment, all they want to do is just boost Newcastle and make sure Newcastle has got plenty of money for next year. Well, half the Newcastle team will be in North London, won't they? But you'll
have plenty of money in the bank, but you'll be in the bottom five, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Would you have taken Harry Maguire?
After Dan Burns' performance the other night? No.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Burn, and I've got a funny feeling Dan Burn might play on Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, he's very good against the Viking.
Now, that brings me on then, based on that logic, would you start Anthony Gordon again?
I would, because I think the first game he was terrible, and I was screaming for Rashford to come on. And Rashford looked really dangerous. Second game, Rashford started, if memory serves, and he weren't great. And then Gordon started again. Gordon came on and did a better job. And I think it's difficult because I think they're sort of interchangeable. Neither of them are John Robertson, are they? Do you know what I mean?
No.
I mean, but without Gordon, we don't win the game for that Harry Kane goal. Without Gordon, we don't get that goal. And his tenacity.
I think there's an impact player who's been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think he'd had a rocket. I think he'd had an absolute rocket up his backside from Tuchel saying, just because you're going to Barcelona, don't think you're the whiz. Get on there and run. And he did. Fair play to him. So I would sign him. I'd sign him.
Brilliant. It was almost like you knew what you were talking about. You should do that for a living. Now, I normally have a rant on this show. Every episode I've had a rant. Now, but we've already pretty much touched it, because the rant obviously this week is corruption for America, Trump. I think I wanted to reach inside my telly and slap him until I run out of that. American so-called media experts. We've touched on it already. So what I'll ask you, Paul, do you genuinely think there'll be any repercussions after the World Cup is over?
No, because FIFA's dirty. It's all fantastic. Nothing to see here. And they'll move on. They'll just move on. They have done in the past, Sepp Blatter and all this. They go from one, crooked serpent's head to another. The peace thing that they gave Trump beforehand. So it was all written before, wasn't it? We have to appease Trump, otherwise, blah, blah, blah. People that deal with Trump like that don't do very well. They should take a leaf out of the Italian Prime Minister's book. That's how to deal with Trump. Tell him to off.
Now, one question I've asked my guests for all these shows, because it's one thing I feel quite strongly about. The qualification system for the World Cup worldwide. I think it's criminal that we are now at 48 teams, or at the start, 48 teams, and you have a nowhere near. I know FIFA want an African nation to win it. We all know that, because we can all see that. We're talking about corrupt organisations that are desperate for that to happen, but they've been shot upon with 6 European teams in the last years we'll go on to. But can you see, because we've discussed this, a better qualification system, because the fact that Italy are not there, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've said it all along. You get a team like Italy, you want the best teams in the world. You want the top 48 teams in the world, surely.
Yeah, but what are you suggesting, that people are given a buy through or something like that? I mean, Italy, they're fools to themselves. They've got some great players, they've got some great managers. They're very passionate. I know a lot of Italians in Peterborough. I've known them a lot of years, and it's very easy. It's so easy to wind them up, isn't it? And say, when's Italy's game and all that sort of stuff. But you're right; they've got some great players, and it's a crime they're not there. Qualification is the same for everybody. And they are missing, and it is a shame they're not there. But just do more. Just be better. If you can't qualify out of those groups now, when there's all them places to qualify.
Yeah,
I mean, the top. You got top three qualify. Cape Verde can do it. With a country that's got 500,000 people to choose from. Italy can't do it with 80 million or whatever they've got in Italy. Come on.
But Cape Verde are not playing European sides. Well, that's the thing.
I get that. But maybe then you mix up the groups. Maybe you don't have all European. Yeah. Maybe you do that. But then would Cape Verde get in? And look how well they did. Look at the story they produced.
Well,
and all their best players have been nicked by Spain anyway. So
I'm hoping their goalkeeper's going to come to the Premiership, because I think he's brilliant. But anyway, as I said, as we record first quarterfinals tonight, so I'm going to involve Cole the goal with this as well, and we're going to get from you predictions for the quarterfinals, starting with France-Morocco.
I've been really impressed with France. But I think that they're going to get a really, really tough game tonight. Co have been impressive too. And they can run all day. They've got some really good players. I think that's going to extra time. I really do. I hope Morocco wins.
Yeah, but who do you think? Head, not heart.
Head is France. In extra time, 2-1, something like that.
Okay. We'll go.
I think there's going to be an upset. I think it's going to be real upset. I've been impressed with Morocco all the way through. I think they're going to beat.
Yeah, you picked your pal.
And you might be right. You might be right.
Spain-Belgium. This is the one I'm looking forward to. This one, Spain-Belgium. We've seen the real Belgium.
I've seen a real Belgium as well many times. They'll bottle it. They always do. Spain will win easy.
Don't say that.
It's a banker for Spain.
Okay. Norway, England.
If we can keep control of Haaland, Norway won't. I was amazed when Norway played Brazil, how much of the ball Norway had. I was astonished. They were literally playing walking football with the Brazilians. The Brazilians were so lazy. And they just let them have the ball. Haaland on the edge of the box, nobody within 20 yards, had a little walk, thought, I might hit this. Did. Macked it in the bottom corner. He won't get that space against England in a million years. So,
and actually,
yeah, go on.
Sorry, no, actually, I think your point earlier, if Tuchel's got the cojones, shall we say, to start Dan Burn, I think Dan Burn can put him in his pocket.
And I think
Haaland doesn't like it up him.
I think with Tuchel, I think he's picked what he has done well, I think, notwithstanding what I said earlier. I think he's picked a squad with particular games in mind. I mean, I think Tony's there for penalties. And if Kane gets injured, I think Tony would come on rather than Watkins. If you need somebody running around the back, Watkins will come on. But I think if Kane got injured, I think Tony's his replacement. And if we go to penalties, he will come on. So I think the same with Dan Burn. I think he's been picked with Haaland in mind. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't start Dan Burn against. And so if you can keep Haaland, I don't think they've got a lot else. They've got a few players that are half decent, but we have got, our team is full of good players and has probably 2/3 world-class players if Saka's fit.
See, I didn't fancy us against Mexico, and then they pulled out that performance. But now I don't want to tempt fate. I really fancy us to do enough on Norway.
I think I'll go back to what I said at the start of the tournament. Our team's got goals in it, and we leak them at the back too. So we need to score a few. We need to score 2 or 3 because Haaland will probably get a chance because he's that good, and you probably will score. So we need to get a couple, and I think we can.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Argentina, Switzerland, finish it off.
Argentina all day long.
Yeah, well,
fairly easily, I think.
They've got VAR on their side, anyway.
Well, they got VAR, the referees, Infantino.
Yeah, they've got to move on to they've lost the USA, so they've got to find a country to.
But I think Argentina are going to have a problem if they come, because they meet us, don't they? In the semis, is that right? If we get to the semis, they'll have a problem then because Messi won't get all the time and space. A bit
no. I genuinely think. Yeah,
he won't be able to play 40-year-old walking football like he is at the minute.
No. So who's your winner out of those 8?
Of the World Cup,
Yes.
I said France at the start, but I now I don't hope that we're going to make the final. I sort of believe we're going to make the final. And I don't see why we can't win it if we play like we did the other night.
And the one-off game,
Yeah.
we can
I
do
genuinely
that.
now, throughout the first couple of games, screaming at the TV, going, "Oh, just cross the ball, beat the first man," all that. Through all that, and then we have got better, progressively better. And I've seen enough in the game and two halves that we played when we played really well. But if we can keep putting it together almost to that level, there aren't many teams left, Spain maybe, France, that can live with that.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'd fear Spain more than France, to be fair. But we'll see. We'll see how it comes. It starts later on tonight. Now,
9 o'clock.
we've been doing this series of podcasts. We've got to do a little bit of admin in conjunction with Super Brew, the prediction league, where you can predict all your football scores and win points, join leagues, and our fantasy football. It's something that myself and Cole the Goal are going to utilise during the entirety of the 26-27 football season. But we've got a competition with World Cup Waffle. And the winner this week of the biggest mover is Nicholas Oliver from Telford, or Yorkie as his stage name is. He's won a Little England goodie bag, which we will get off to you in the post. And I have to say congratulations to Heacham's very own Gary Mason, who's taken a 1-point lead on 108.5 going into the quarterfinals. However, what we haven't released yet is there's 8 games remaining in total, and a couple of them are going to be for double points. We just haven't sit down and decided yet, so it's not all over. You can still get in and win surprises. So there you go. That's the Super Brew Count. The final segment of the show, as we always do with our special guests, we're going to play one-on-one with Paul Stainton. You didn't know much about this till he came on just before you came on air.
I'll take it.
What
Come
I'm
on.
going to do with Paul is give him 2 names, and I want him to say the one that instantly appeals to him. He's got to say it straight away, and if he needs some time at the end of it to justify his reasons before he loses his job or, it's like he gets that opportunity. So, are you ready, Paul?
Yeah, I'm ready.
England or Scotland?
England.
BBC or ITV?
For the World Cup, ITV.
Breakfast show or sports reporting?
Breakfast show. I love doing that show.
Forest or Leicester?
Easy. Forest.
Peterborough or Cambridge?
Peterborough. Chris Turner's Peterborough.
Media, radio.
Radio every day of the week.
And finally, the World Cup or the Euros?
Euros.
Brilliant. I was surprised at that last one. But then it makes sense of what you said earlier. Excellent. Thank you for taking part in that, Paul. Now, what I'd like you to do, we've obviously touched on your new role within the cathedral. Please tell us how people can find you, what you've got coming up, and what the cathedral's got coming up, and all the things that you would like to get out there.
Well, like you said, we've got more and more events on £1,000 minutes to keep the place open. We have a lot of structural things we've got to get right in the next few years because the roof's leaking and various other things. So, it's a huge, beautiful place, and especially on days like today when it's 28 degrees in this room I'm in, it's much nicer in the cathedral. It's the coolest place in the city. So we've got Travelling Bricks coming up, which starts a week on Saturday. It's our summer exhibition. We've got a huge exhibition of Lego 7-meter Titanic and various other things. We've got a huge fun zone at the back of the cathedral, and in the middle there's a 200,000 Lego brick pit where you can come and build your own Lego pit. So you can spend all day in the cathedral. So that's going to be fantastic. That starts the 18th of July. It's on to the end of August. We're going to have in August, we're going to have bouncy castles in front of the cathedral for the very first time for the kids on the weekend. So you'll be able to come and do that outside. A day like today, you have amazing fun. And we've got loads of concerts coming up as well. We've got a Mary Queen of Scots exhibition in September, which is the first time it's ever been anywhere. It's a world first, the Mary Queen of Scots exhibition. It'll be a bit like the Jorvik Centre in York, where you go through and various scenes of Mary Queen of Scots' life. And obviously, she was buried at the cathedral for 25 years, and then they dug her up and took her to Westminster Abbey. But you got the links with Fotheringhay and all around here where she was executed. So, but if you love your history, that's going to be amazing. And then we've got our huge Christmas spectacular coming up as well. I think we're going to have 100 Christmas trees in the cathedral this year, and we invite local charity to have one and come and decorate it.
Well, we'd like to thank Paul Stainton for everything tonight. We really, really, really appreciate his time. Wasn't it interesting? Great football knowledge, which you'd expect. But however, we still also appreciate him joining us on World Cup Waffle here at More Muzic Radio. Now, next week, we'll be leading into the semis and the final. And boy, have we got a guest for you. We've saved the best, not the best till last, but we've saved the biggest till last. The one, the only, Neil Razor Ruddock, ex-Tottenham, ex-Millwall, ex-Liverpool, ex-reality TV star, DJ now. Everyone knows who Neil is. I'm going to be nervous as hell, but can't wait to interview him. In the meantime, thank you for joining us on World Cup Waffle. We thank More Muzic Radio and Matt Page again, because we can't do it without him. Call the goal. Say goodbye, Call the goal.
Goodbye, Call the goal.
And we'll see you next week for episode 5 of World Cup Waffle with Razor Ruddock. You won't want to miss it.